So so you got people who are walking into heaven backwards. They're avoiding sin, but they're not moving towards Jesus. They just don't want to go to hell, whatever you believe that to be, right? They don't want to go to hell. And so they're walking into heaven backwards. They don't love Christ. They just don't want to go to hell. I was having a conversation with my son the other day, and me, him, and his mom were talking, and he's at that age where he's lying for no reason about everything, and just the smallest stuff he just lies. And so we've been walking through that with him, trying to help him to understand that, right? And he goes, I don't want to lie, He's like, and I said, no, let's let's look at this a different way, It's so by the end of the conversation, it's not that he doesn't want to lie. It's not so much of not wanting to lie. It's that he doesn't want to get in trouble. His motivation is not to please God and please his parents. His motivation is not to get in trouble. If he doesn't get caught, he's good with that. Right. And I feel like there's a lot of Christians who are not necessarily in love with God. They just don't want eternal consequences. They just don't want the consequences of unbelief. Right. And so they're walking into heaven focused on their sin rather than focusing on the goodness of God. And this is what creates these legalist Christians, very legal in terms of, trying to get the law right, but they're expressing the law without love. And so, I don't even know why I said all that, but that's a problem, I think, in how we approach this. If we don't get the gospel right, then we definitely won't get the kingdom right. I guess that's the point, is without the gospel being set in the right place and understood properly, then we don't get people who are living in the kingdom properly, right? If we preach a gospel that is just filled with wrath and hell, you don't get people who love God. You get people who don't want the consequences and fear him, right? And I'm not saying that those things aren't important. I'm just saying that the type of gospel we preach will ultimately create the type of disciple we see, right? And so you don't get people who love God and want to live in his kingdom and want to advance it. What we get is people who are just as angry as a wrathful God and condemn others in their sin and become pride and boast inside of their own salvation. So if we don't get the gospel right, we don't get the kingdom right. So in saying that, listen, the Beatitudes, are countercultural